eligible for $50,000 and you just got out of the hospital? Didn't you have to take a medical exam or something?
No, there was no medical exam, and I was able to get coverage right over the phone. Plus, my rates can never be increased, my benefits can never be decreased, and my coverage can never be canceled.
Dad, I'm glad you made that call.
Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-413-6213 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-413-6213 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 a day. Call 800-413-6213. That's 800-413-6213. 800-413-6213. Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
Clint, so good to see you. How was everything?
Amazing as always, Frank. Happy to see you out of the hospital and back at it.
Me too. But my big health scare got me really thinking about the future. With my girls set to take over the family business, I want to make sure I don't leave them any of my debt. Heck, just the price of a funeral can be $8,000 or more.
We're just happy to have you back, Dad. Don't go thinking about debts or anything like that. We'll find a way to pay.
Now see, that's why I made a call and found out I'm eligible for $50,000 for my funeral and other final expenses.
Well, hold on. Eligible for $50,000 and you just got out the hospital. Didn't you have to take a medical exam or something?
No, there was no medical exam, and I was able to get coverage right over the phone. Plus, my rates can never be increased, my benefits can never be decreased, and my coverage can never be canceled.
Dad, I'm glad you made that call.
Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-413-6213 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-413-6213 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 a day. Call 800-413-6213. That's 800-413-6213. 800-413-6213. Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
Clint, so good to see you. How was everything?
Amazing as always, Frank. Happy to see you out of the hospital and back at it.
Me too. But my big health scare got me really thinking about the future. With my girls set to take over the family business, I want to make sure I don't leave them any of my debt. Heck, just the price of a funeral can be $8,000 or more.
We're just happy to have you back, Dad. Don't go thinking about debts or anything like that. We'll find a way to pay.
Now see, that's why I made a call and found out I'm eligible for $50,000 for my funeral and other final expenses.
Well, hold on. Eligible for $50,000 and you just got out the hospital. Didn't you have to take a medical exam or something?
No, there was no medical exam, and I was able to get coverage right over the phone. Plus, my rates can never be increased, my benefits can never be decreased, and my coverage can never be canceled.
Dad, I'm glad you made that call.
Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-413-6213 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-413-6213 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 $1 a day. Call 800-413-6213. That's 800-413-6213. 800-413-6213. Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at...
Jeez.
Woods off Florida's I-75 that in the space of 1 year the police found the bodies of 7 men. They were killed with this gun, a high standard .22. Richard Mallory, Walter Antonio, Dick Humphreys, David Spears, Charles Costatin, Peter Sims, and Troy Burrows.
8 men have been shot to death in cold blood on Central Florida highways, including the busy tourist route of I-75. But this time, there's an even more chilling twist to the slaying. Police say for the first time in criminal history, these killers may be murdering with a feminine touch.
On January the 9th, 1991, Eileen Carol Warnos was arrested in Daytona Beach, Florida. She worked as a hitchhiking hooker.
Life is filled with impactful moments. Moments that bring you together and change your...
This is the original police video of Eileen Warnos' confession. The idea of a woman killing men, a man-hating lesbian prostitute who tarnished the reputation of all her victims, brought Eileen Warnos a special kind of hatred. Terry Humphrey's father was a retired police chief.
There wasn't any sex involved in my dad's murder. They cut him. They did an autopsy on my dad. They wouldn't release his body for over a week. They cut him from stem to stern. There wasn't any semen there, anywhere.
Just can't imagine the grief, the hurt, the anguish that they have caused this family. This is a man that I had before.
I think she makes up with, quote, old Sparky. You know who old Sparky is?
Yeah, that's the electric chair.
Politicians and the Christian right campaigned for Eileen Warnos' execution.
I'm tired of this re-election jazz. They're just trying to get promotional ladder climbing, political prestige from this. And I'm sick and tired of this. I'll probably get 3 more death row sentences, and then I gotta go to Pasco and Dixon for 2 more death row. How many times you gotta kill me? You know what I mean? This is bullshit. They don't need to be doing this.
Even Ted Bundy was offered life imprisonment. This was never offered to Eileen Warnos. By the time I met Eileen, she already had 4 death sentences. But surprisingly, in an odd way, I found her to be the most honest person involved in the case.
Saying, if there is a number, now, self-defense and self-defense, no matter how many times it is, I don't care if it's 100 times. I never provoked those guys. I never provoked them. I never showed any provocations whatsoever. It's very nice, very decent, very clean, very ladylike. I didn't even swear in front of my clients. And a lot of my clients, I talk about Jesus and I talk political. Both mixed together. I've never argued.
My old film had ended with this announcement of the resignation of Florida police officers who had illicitly entered into Hollywood movie deals to sell the story of America's first female serial killer, the Eileen Wuornos story.
Major Dan Henry resigned as Chief of Staff of the Marion County Sheriff's Office after being notified of an investigation being conducted by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The investigation being conducted by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement centers around taped telephone conversations made by Deputy Munster between he and Major Henry involving the Eileen Wuornos case.
There was speculation at the time that if police officers did in fact receive money, all Eileen Wuornos' death sentences could be overturned. 12 years later, Eileen is still on death row. There was no proper investigation into police officers and their movie deals. It all got covered over. Eileen and I kept in touch over the years, and then a few weeks ago I opened my front door and to my amazement was served with a subpoena to attend Eileen's final appeal before execution. I had no idea how things would turn out, and that I'll be witnessing an execution in 1.5 years' time. This is Ocala, Florida. All us witnesses were housed together in a motel.
We're going to witness that.
Let's see if this senior allowance is legit. Hello, is this the senior allowance line?
Yes, it is. How may I assist you today?
I heard that seniors over 64 can receive a $900 allowance. Is that true?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. The senior allowance is designed to help eligible individuals with essential expenses like groceries, rent, utilities, prescriptions, and more.
Telling real win.
This is Joe Hobson, Eileen's attorney. Lawyers like Joe are kept very busy. 4,000 people are on death row waiting for execution.
Okay. You're not very good at wheeling. I'm sorry, bro.
Actually, okay. And has this particular case been stressful? The Eileen case?
It's so important because this is the legal system in a phase where it's doing the most important thing it can ever do, and that is taking a human life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more important than a money judgment or a adjudication of guilt or 30 years in prison. And we've really got to be careful. I mean, the whole system's got to be careful. And my opinion and the whole gist of our motion is that she's been failed by the legal system.
Joe Hobson felt that Eileen had been poorly represented by her previous attorney, Dr. Legal.
Most of us would probably never worry about spending time in jail, but if you are ever involved in the criminal justice system, you will need a lawyer who can...
Joe Hobson was hoping to get Eileen a retrial by discrediting Dr. Legal, otherwise known as Steve. This is the Ocala Cult House, where we were going to spend the next week. Steve the lawyer had made no attempt to investigate the cops. He pled guilty to all the murders and didn't even try and make a deal for lesser sentence. Eileen had no money to pay him, so Steve used the money obtained from interview fees. This man in front of me is the state prosecutor who wants to execute Eileen immediately. This is the first time I've seen Steve for 11 years. He said my film got him run out of town.
What? Fuck you, fuck you and the dog together.
Don't talk to me.
What? Don't talk.
Okay, everybody see it? All right, let's continue.
Now, you were contacted by Mr. Broomfield in 1992. Do you recall specifically charging or attempting to charge Mr. Broomfield $25,000 for an interview?
I didn't attempt to charge anybody anything. If
Ms. Warnes asked me, told me, Steve, I want $25,000 for this interview. I would have passed that on to the person who was interviewing. But it's not my position to set fees, or we didn't have a fee schedule.
Will you admit that you were depicted on the movie The Selling of a Serial Killer doing exactly that, trying to get $10,000 or I think $25,000 for an interview?
I don't think there's any evidence that I tried to get $25,000 or anything.
So the next stage is really to come up with a counter offer.
No, the next stage is to come up with $25,000. But okay. Well, then if you don't think the next thing to do is to really get a counter offer, unless tell her something.
So we would basically then pay the money to, well, we'd pay money to you, or to, as her legal.
As her mom, and then Steve gets a percentage as our agent.
Right.
Very tiny percentage. This poor man works for nothing.
Nick, wait a second. What's Davy Crockett doing on a $100 bill? Thank you, Frank.
Have you seen the Mr. Broomfield's production, The Selling of a Serial Killer?
Yes.
Okay. And you've seen yourself depicted in that movie?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall joking in that movie that your advice to any client facing the electric chair was, to quote Woody Allen, don't sit down?
I remember making a lot of jokes in that movie.
Judge, you're talking about the depictions of Mr. Glazier in the movie The Selling of a Serial Killer, that the defendant submits clearly captures the essence of his approach to a representation, which clearly impeaches his claim that he had taken this an altruistic pro bono National Lawyers Guild, and helps establish the claim that all along his motive in taking this case was the publicity and the money to be made.
Booking.com has all kinds of stays, because some love a sunny resort, others not so much. Find exactly what you're booking for. Booking.com, booking.yeah.
You can't blame me, and I'll try and tame me. It's time to put yourself first. Don't stop believing your worth. Hello, Moto.
Hello, Moto.
Sitting down with normal altars.
Just a normal kid.
Oh, you're a normal kid who killed your parents. No one ever got out totally unscathed.
She asked the question that nobody else had asked.
I know you don't want to talk about guys, and I won't push it, but how are you going to find anybody? You don't really act. You don't sing. You don't dance. You don't have any talent.
And asked it in a way that always hit her nerve.
Why the tears now? Now, Steve, I was never beautiful. If I'd been a dog, I mean, maybe they wouldn't have put me on television. But, I mean, nobody ever put me on because I was beautiful or glamorous.
She was fearless, and sometimes she got under people's skin.
Ever do drugs in front of...
I have to say, I always liked Steve. He was an old hippie from Micanopy who was just way out of his depth.
The only thing really to do here is to have breakfast and then leave.
This is Dawn Botkins, Eileen's best friend.
What was that little ditty you had about a car?
I really don't believe Steve took the case on for money, but he was so inexperienced he could only plead guilty for Eileen. He didn't even have a fax machine or law office.
When I was living in a teepee in Micanopy, I went through the whole thing: cows, chickens, geese, and pigs. I had a cow called Sir Angus McBeef. Just so you know what he's going to be, you know, you try to rationalize it. You're going into the refrigerator. You're going in. That was the last meat I was able to eat.
I guess you didn't look at it that way.
Eileen lived in a total fantasy world. She thought she'd get off the murders and then live with this woman, Arlene Priley, a born-again Christian who'd seen Eileen's picture in the local newspaper and had adopted her. Together they planned to run a horse ranch and raise she-wolves. Arlene Prawley, the born-again Christian, hired Steve and persuaded Eileen to come clean with God and plead guilty. Steve had been advised that Eileen was paranoid and suffered from borderline personality disorder, but still went along with his cockeyed scheme. Eileen seemed to think a miracle might happen, and was outraged to receive 3 more death sentences.
I sentence you to death for the murder of Charles Humphreys, case number 91-112, Citrus County case number. I sentence you to death for the murder of David.
Thank you.
In many death row cases, a client in despair will say they want to die. It was a measure of Steve the lawyer's inexperience that he took Eileen's wish on face value. I like to flatter myself that I was being asked for my legal opinion, but it turned out I was there to talk about Steve's marijuana smoking. The big question was whether Steve had consumed 7 very strong joints before giving Eileen legal advice in prison.
You know, I've got a short video clip I want to show, if I may. It's an excerpt from the film that depicts this alleged 6-7 joint ride. And as a preliminary question, is it true that in doing your work, you routinely edit things, right?
Well, you always edit afterwards, yeah.
And editing involves cutting, pasting, and putting things together. Correct?
Yeah.
And that's what you do all the time.
I learned about the pasting, but you certainly can't.
Well, pasting in terms of inserting and connecting and making things fit together.
Correct.
Okay.
It was 6 a.m. Steve said it was a 7-joint ride to the prison, and he brought along a tape of his own music with him singing and playing all the instruments, especially for the occasion.
You know, she was about to be excited. She's in a movie.
Okay, let's go back. You recognize?
Yes.
Another episode to make it look like something that hadn't in fact happened?
Right.
I remember distinctly the 7-joint ride, if that's what you're referring to. I don't remember him changing his shirt, but we could, if you want, we can make all the outtakes available from that particular journey. Because they're still
Not very
available.
convenient right now, and you hadn't made those available before.
I didn't know you wanted them before. I didn't even know that the film was going to be submitted as evidence.
I'm no typical politician. I'm a first-generation American. Joined the Marines, graduated college as a working mom, raised a family, became a grandma. First woman elected lieutenant governor, and helped Governor Youngkin lower taxes and improve education. I went some Earl Sears. You want another typical politician? Look to Washington. But if you want a United States Marine who will always fight for Virginia, I'd be honored to have your vote.
Oh no, wait a minute. Very good. So, curls.
If I was making that trip, I would probably change my shirt at the end of the
I
trip.
like this one.
I don't know that. That's not part of my question, is it?
I don't know, but I would probably bring
So
a
then
clean
I
shirt
gotta
along
dip
for my
this.
What would you do? I would.
Almost.
I got a message that Eileen wanted me to meet you at the local jail.